Everybody, welcome back to our FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm host Mega 31. It's Sunday night. Hope you had a great weekend. We'll be previewing Monday's slate. Just a public service, sorry about that. Service announcements for you is that Monday's Patriots Day. So that means that the Boston Marathon's run and the Red Sox usually play a game around 11 a.m. So if you play Sorare or if you play in a season-long league, just keep in mind that the lock for games is going to be super early this week around 11 a.m. Eastern time. So just keep that in mind if you play those things. So there is a 5-game turbo slate. Not going to be covering that, although there's some good matchups there. So they're going to be kind of fun to play this year. So definitely um, consider those. But for the sake of the video, just going to cover the 9-game night slate. No weather to worry about, which is great. Finally, a lot of these games are played indoors, and the ones that are outdoors should be in good shape. So just gonna go game by game here and talk a little bit about them, and then we'll get into some roster builds for you. So you have the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Gill against Bassett. Gill's okay filling in here. Bassett's really struggled to start the season, so I definitely I'm not super high on the pitchers here. Bassett, I'm probably on in my fade, and Gill maybe in consideration in the mid range. But the Yankees have been solid. They're 12-4. So, and the Blue Jays have been kind of underwhelming, especially they had a series against Colorado against with some really good pitching matchups and really just didn't put up the runs I thought they would there. So the Yankees, it's so hard to get to Judge and Soto here, both being in the 6K range. But if you wanted to go like middle of the road here and go like Rizzo, Stanton, Verdugo, Wells, and Cabrera, I mean, that's a decent stack that can get you some decent pitchers and some decent one-offs in the other three positions. They're fairly reasonable. Everybody's kind of in the three K range and stands the high one at 4.8. I mean, if you want to do a wraparound thing and try to get like a Soto in there, you should have the salary for it, but you know, they'd probably be my fifth favorite stack in there. Toronto GPP, not super interested here, but probably my 10th favorite stack. If you consider the top couch and the GPP ones, so I don't think I'll be playing a ton of them. Maybe in one lineup if I'm doing like a 20 max. Pittsburgh and the Mets, pitchers park here. Press hasn't been bad to start the season. He's got 1.89 ERA, and the Mets have struggled offensively at times. I know that you've got some really nice bats here against a lefty, but I think Perez is in play in the mid range, and some of the definitely consider. And Hauser on the other side has struggled, and Pittsburgh, even though it's a pitcher's park, I think they can definitely put up some some runs here. So Pittsburgh, I think, is my third favorite cheap stack, and you get the two 5K guys, but the rest of these players are very inexpensive. The Swinski I really like against righties. Usually, if he should be batting fourth there, Tellez, mixing like Cruz and Reynolds, should have the salary for it. So, like that. The Mets, I mean, I just look at the righties here, like Alonso, Alvarez, and maybe Marte. Not on other than that, I really want to. I mean, Lindor's getting better. Like he's his low batting average and stuff seems to be more bad luck than bad form and plate discipline. So I think it'll come around in a matter of time. So if you want to go like a 3-man stack of Lindor, Alonso, Alvarez here, I think that's a decent way to sprinkle in some bets if you want to play them. Kansas City, who seems to be red hot here, 10-6 against White Sox, who are, if say they're tanking, but baseball put in a protection now, so you can't get like the number one draft pick just by being the worst team. So there's kind of a lottery system. So we'll see what happens. I already had a ton of injuries and stuff. It looks like they're bringing up Nick Nestroni for and he's got like a 7 ERA in the minors. That just hasn't been good. Fetty was the other option. That's why they're yellow on the sheet, because I'm not sure which one. If it is Nestorani, I'm not interested. Fetty, maybe a little interest, but not a ton. Lugo for KC, I think definitely anybody against the White Sox is going to be in play. Um, Wind is blowing across the field at 8 miles per hour, so it's not blowing out, 59 degrees, and 9 run total here, so there should be some offense. So definitely like the KC bats. Favorite cheap. If you take Witt out of there, everybody's in the 4K range. They're definitely easy to fit in your build. And the White Sox, I mean, would just be a leverage one because I think there will be some people that play Lugo just because this White Sox lineup is so watered down. Um, and it's just, not a solid major league lineup for you. San Diego and goes to Milwaukee. Musgrove really struggled to start the season, like look really bad. And Milwaukee can hit. They've put up some runs against Baltimore and some good pitching, even up like against Burns. They get to go back home here. And I know Yelich is still banged up, but still, I think the rest of his lineup is good. So I'm not playing Musgrove. And Joe Ross, I think, is interesting also. The Padres, even though they have the fourth lowest K rate, they're not putting up the runs I thought they would either. Again, I've talked about it before. They could be a sleeping giant that could come alive at any point. But I think Joe Ross has showed enough this to definitely be in consideration in the mid range for your builds. So San Diego, I think would probably be GPP somewhere in the middle, and Milwaukee is maybe my second favorite cheap. Like I can't say definitely first, but the only trouble in Milwaukee is I tried to play him but with the other major stacks, like the players that I want to play on Milwaukee overlap with the players that I want to put in on the big stacks that I want to play in, like Atlanta, Dodgers, Houston. So I don't know if I'll be playing much of Milwaukee, maybe some one-offs and maybe some players at the lower end of the lineup. But as I said, I was just kind of disappointed as I tried to make my builds. Like I went and, I couldn't find ones that fit the build that I liked and the positions with the split. So Milwaukee's definitely a play if you can make it work, and maybe when the lineup comes out, it'll be something completely different. But I had trouble trying to get them in just because of the way their positioning was. Atlanta and Houston looks like Vines is going to get called up. He was called up for the bullpen, didn't get to go. He's a decent pitcher. He's a little expensive, but he is stretched out. He is a starter, and he did do really well in the minor leagues. So I have him in the medium range as the lowest option, just because I'm intrigued. Houston is at home, and Houston is a good hitting team usually, but they're only 6-11 this season. They have been struggling. They haven't been hitting the way that you'd like them to. Like the bottom of the lineup isn't as imposing as it once was. So I think Houston definitely gonna be put it together, and they might be ones like kind of like the Golden State Warriors, where you've been a champion caliber team for so many years that you kind of go through the motions early on in the season, and then finally put it together towards the end when it comes to playoff time and make your run. So again, I think Vines, however you pronounce his name, is an intriguing option here. And our Getty, kind of really rough first start. Was really beaten up, and now he gets an Atlanta team, so that's can hit really well. And Houston, I think, is like a neutral ballpark going there. I think they'll hit just as well as they do at home. So I think they're definitely in play and probably my favorite stack on the board. Next up, we have St. Louis and Oakland. We have Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray looked good in his first start, even though he was limited to 5 innings. He had 5 strikeouts, only gave up 5 hits, no runs, got the win. And he faces Oakland. I think he can do more of the same at his salary. I think he can get 22 DK points again. And he's probably one of my favorite pitchers on the board, point per dollar. Stripling on the other side is 0 for 3 with a 5 ERA. There's not many options in the lower range. So I think that I just have to throw him in there only because you might need some people if you want to get like a glass no, or if you want to get some of these stacks, and you're going to need some salary relief and GPPs. And I think just seeing St. Louis has just not put up a ton of runs. Like there was, I think 2 or 3 days ago, they put up like 9. But if you look at their average run, it's like 2 to 3. And if Stripling gets up 2 to 3 and gets some strikeouts at his price point, and if he gets a quality start on FanDuel, or if he lasts long enough, I think that he's gonna be okay. There are some strikeouts in the St. Louis lineup. They're 4, 6, 7th worst um in the league there, especially if like they continue to keep like Victor Scott in there. So I know Newt Barr's back, and there's another left-handed bat, and he's got potential to do well, and they can really mix you lefty righty here. But I think Stripling, you just have to consider. St. Louis bats, I think second favorite GPP. Again, Stripling has struggled, so give me the lefties here. Give me Dominic, Gorman, Newt Bar. Um, Probably take Win cheap and do a wraparound, and maybe throw in like either Goldsmith or Arenado, or one of the right-handed bats, however you want to do it, so there's not too much spacing between. Oakland, I think, is a leverage play because I think Sonny Gray will have a lot of ownership. So there's nobody that I'm like really chomping at the bit saying like, "Oh, this is a great matchup for Oakland." I don't think I'd play any Oakland, and if I did, I'd probably just take the top 5, or maybe put Langolier in there, and take JD Davis out, who's really much better against lefties than righties, and hope for the best. But I don't think I'm really going to be playing much of them. Chicago Whites or Chicago Cubs, Arizona. Ben Brown has been great in his first couple starts. I know Arizona is a tough matchup here, but again, we're going to be looking for some salary savings, and you don't really have too many options. I probably won't go in the cheap range in cash, but in a GPP, I think you have to consider him. At least he's got a couple starts under his belt here. And again, Arizona can go out there and absolutely annihilate them, but the total's only 8.5. It's not like it's a huge total, and maybe more of that 8.5 is leading towards Arizona, especially with Kelly on the mound. I think Kelly is probably below Glasnow, second favorite one on the slate. I know the Cubs have hit, but they've hit better at home than on the road. So I think you got to consider playing Kelly, and I think you got to consider playing the Arizona bats. They'd probably be my fourth favorite stack here. I like Atlanta, the Dodgers, and Houston against their young pitchers. And then Arizona would fall into place as the fourth one against another young arm that's out there. Cincinnati and Seattle, Frankie Montas and Kirby. I think you got to consider both these guys. I'm not excited about either one because both offenses could come alive. Cincinnati, of course, I like better at home, but they seem to be putting up runs no matter where they are. Recently, this lineup is pretty solid, and it's just probably just a matter of time before it clicks and really starts cranking out runs. And Seattle's just been super underwhelming, and did lose Suarez and some other bats. But they brought in Blanco, and just Rodriguez isn't hitting, or maybe just not much protection. They brought in Garver from Minnesota. It, it's just probably just a matter of time. Like France, like used to hit higher lineup, and now he's down there. Canzone is going to be a really good player coming up, but it's just not clicking right now. So Montas has looked okay in his first couple starts. I think he's definitely going to be play. I like Glasnow, Kelly, and Gray better, but he's definitely has to be in your player pool. And the same thing with Kirby. I know he's got an 8 ERA, and I know Cincinnati, but I think that he should be in consideration because I think some positive regressions coming there. I just think he's been unlucky in the first. I don't think anything's broke or anything. I think he figures out. He's a great, talented young arm, and I think things come around. Now, whether he gets a run support behind him, that's another question. So Cincinnati bats are definitely my favorite GPP if he continues to struggle. Especially like Benson and Fraley, Candelario, Cruz, the lefties against them, but I don't struggle playing the righties either. They've been pretty solid too. Final game we have is Washington and the Dodgers. Uh, Mitchell Parker's getting called up. I saw like Corbin might be, but either one of them still. Parker doesn't have the greatest numbers in his minor league either. AAA Rochester. Let's see. He's started one game, went 4 innings, gave up one hit, 5 K. So not horrible last year. Um, and he only had three AAA. Most of he was in AA Harrisburg, and he had a 4.28 ERA in AA. In AAA, he had a 10.95. So this isn't like one of the top prospects or anything, and probably won't go too deep in the game. But I just have him listed as a YOLO play just because he is 4K. And, if this 4K pitcher goes out there and the Dodgers, for some reason, struggle, then you're off to the races. And that's how you can win a GPP. Not likely it's going to happen, but take your shots in a couple of lines there with the 4K pitcher. Glasnow on the other side has got to be a top pitcher on the slate. Washington has struggled, especially going out on the road, traveling, time change, and everything here, because I don't think they're on the West Coast previously. Where did they play today? Washington played. Maybe they were on the West Coast. They're in Oakland. Okay, so they've been out there. They've been adjusted, so that's not going to be a factor. But still, um, it's up against the Dodgers, up against a really good pitcher, and I don't really think that it's something that I really want to attempt fade on. Dodgers bats I love, especially the right-handers bats. He hits both sides pretty well. Freeman's been cold, so I wouldn't play him lefty on lefty until he starts to come around. Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez, Chris Taylor, Ricky Hernandez. So there's some cheap bats in the sub 3K range at the bottom of the lineup that you could fit in and make a nice wraparound one. So what I got for you. So like I said, Glasnow, Kelly, and Gray are probably my three top pitchers. I'm probably going to lean Gray just because the savings to try to get the bats in. Montas and Kirby are in play. Lugo, Perez, and Ross in the mid range. Gill and Venus are intriguing. I think potential for GPP. Really going to probably stay away from the cheap range of Brown, Stripling, and Parker, but they could open up some salary in GPP to help you get your bats in. And Arrighetti, Musgrove, Bassett, Hauser, and Nestrini, if he's the pitcher I'm fading. If it is Fetty for the White Sox, I might consider him again GPP. So top stacks and the top four here are all going against young pitchers: Atlanta, the Dodgers, Houston, Arizona, and New York. Well, New York's going at Bassett, who's been struggling. GPP, Cincinnati, St. Louis, San Diego, Seattle, and Toronto. Going to sprinkle in KC guys other than Witt, Milwaukee guys if I can make a fit, and the Pittsburgh guys, maybe not the top two, but like Swinsky and some of the other ones round the lineup. And then the leverage play against the decent pitchers, Washington, Oakland, White Sox, Cubs, and Mets. So see how I built and get you on your way for your Monday. So, like I said, Gray and Perez, if you can get up the Glasnow here or Kelly, I'm fine with that. Um, but if you can get up the Lugo, that's good. But I want the Braves. So Olson, Albies, I'll let you see if you can figure out if you can get like a Cunha in there or if you want Garcia shortstop. But Clinic is cheap enough and decent enough play there, and Swinsky, and then like a Hayes, and like I said, I'm gonna probably balance it out with Pitts. I'm putting catcher. Probably gonna have to play Maldonado there to make it work, but my build's going to pretty much be between Pittsburgh and Atlanta players. For GPP, Glasnow and Stripling, like I again here at GPP, like some of the lines I'll try to drop down to Parker to try to get more bats in. But I got the bats I wanted in with only having to punt one outfield position and find like a cheap guy that's probably like 2,500 or less. But the choice is like, do you want Betts or do you want Whit? Because it's impossible to play both of them. If you want to drop down a glass from glass on a pitcher, it works. You can get Betts in a second base and Whit in a shortstop, and then be able to fill in the rest of your lineup with Kansas City guys or with Dodgers. Uh, But just depending on how far you want to drop down, it is a GPP lineup anyways, but that's how I'm building. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. Hit me up Megaro31 on Twitter/X. If these videos help you, please help us back. Like the video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share with your friends. And if you want more information on FSi DFS, you can go into the description of the video, and there's a link to our pricing page. All our pricing is relatively cheap compared to the industry. For daily, weekly, monthly packages, it's not that much. It's probably surprising when you go there and see. And if you just want to try all sports for a day, it's $6. Not a bad deal at all. So I got for you. Good luck in your contests. Hope you have an amazing start to your week on Monday. And if you have a question, you know how to get a hold of me. And I will see you next time.